What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm your host, Brad, joined by my co-hosts, Micah.
You see, this is how you start a show, Jay. This is how you start a show like a professional. I'm sorry, Brad. This is just an inside joke between myself and Terrence and Jay, because Jay doesn't know how to start the show like we start the show. You know, with the countdown, and I literally have to tell him, hey, this is how the white man does it. He's your better. Do it like him.
Did I miss a recording or something?
No.
Did this make it to air, or is this just pre-show hijinks?
This was pre-show hijinks.
Terrence is also joining us today, of course.
Yes, I am. I'm here. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, you should start it this way, Jay. This is how it works. This is just how it works. It's just how it goes. So yeah, we are back for another episode. We are going to get Terrence's expanded impressions on Devil May Cry 5 later this episode. We will also talk about the most inevitable thing that could possibly happen, thanks to a particular company. Which we'll get to later, the big controversy that happened in the gaming world last week. Let's start by talking about what we've been playing. I will start real quick because I took a step back from Anthem this week because Destiny started their new season of content. Season 6 is the season of the Drifter, and it has brought with it a new game mode, which is Gambit Prime, aka Sweaty Gambit. And then also a new sort of horde mode called The Reckoning. And these two modes work in conjunction with one another because the cool thing... So I should probably explain how Gambit Prime is different than regular Gambit, first of all. So Gambit Prime is kind of an evolution of Gambit. Now, they haven't gotten rid of the regular Gambit. They did tweak regular Gambit a little bit so that now if you do get to a third round, it's just a boss rush mode. Like the Primeval spawns right away. Good. And you don't have to go through the whole rigmarole. But Gambit Prime is a little bit different. So Gambit Prime, of course, Gambit in Destiny is the PvE/PvP mode, where you are working as a team of 4 trying to kill ads to get these little motes, which to get deposited in a central bank. And once you have enough, a big boss will spawn that you have to kill, and you win the round. Normal Gambit is best 2 out of 3 rounds. Gambit Prime is 1 round. And the ads are a little bit tougher from the get-go. It's basically the same toughness that you would see in a round 3 of regular Gambit once, they start throwing out the yellow bars and stuff like that. But what's different about it is, so you're going around and you're getting your kills and you're doing your stuff. And once you have enough motes, in the Gambit Prime, it's 100 motes that you have to get into instead of 75, the Primeval spawn. But here's the thing. The Primeval has an invincible shield that cannot be damaged. The way that you damage the Primeval is to actually kill 3 of the Primeval envoys, which are witches that spawn on the map. And once the witches are dead, a well of light will appear on the ground for about 20 seconds. And that is your way that you get your Primeval Slayer. And it's the only way that you can damage the Primevals while this well of light is in the mix. So that's the very basic overview of Gambit Prime. The way it's different, though, is because they've kind of tuned up the mechanics a little bit. So now blockers used to be an occasional nuisance in Gambit. So the other team can send over blockers when they deposit motes to kind of slow your team down. And it locks your bank, and you have to kill the blockers to unlock the bank. Well, now in Gambit Prime, if you have 2 or more blockers on your side, your motes will actually start draining from your bank once a second, basically. Ooh. So you can't just ignore the blockers. Like, they have to be something that you are very aware of the entire time while you are playing Gambit Prime. You also get an extra invasion because you get it every 25 motes that your team deposits. You can go to the other side and invade the other team. But the big thing with Gambit Prime is that there are now 4 defined roles that you can play as. And those 4 roles are the Sentry, which helps clear blockers and keep the bank clear, the Reaper, which just goes around slaying ads, the Collector, who is your primary moat picker-upper, and the Invader, which is your primary invader that go to the other side to harass the other team. And this is how it kind of ties into the Reckoning mode they have in the game. So when you play Gambit Prime, you get these items that are called synths, and you get them randomly by playing throughout Gambit Prime. You also can get them through bounties and stuff like that. When you go into Reckoning mode, you actually take your synths and you kind of wager them in Reckoning. And if you successfully complete Reckoning, you will get a piece of Gambit armor gear. And the type of armor that you get depends on what type of synth that you wagered in the Reckoning mode. The cool thing about the Gambit armor set is that it actually unlocks new perks that you can use in Gambit Prime that are catered around the role you're playing. So like if you are playing the sentry role, for example, the first perk that you can unlock is to get like bonus damage against taken enemies, and the blockers are always taken enemies, so that's helpful for clearing out blockers as you go. Like for one of the things the collector can do, for example, is when you die, any motes that you carry will actually fall on the ground for your teammates to pick up, because normally when you die when carrying motes in Gambit, they just disappear. So your teammates have a chance to get your motes back. The Reaper, for example, like one of the things they can do is when they get multi-kills, it drops special ammo for your entire team so that you can get ammo for your shotguns and fusion rifles and powerful weapons and stuff like that. So, and there are different quality sets of armor, and there's different difficulties for Reckoning, and obviously the higher difficulties get you the better armor sets. So they haven't even unlocked the top tier of armor sets yet, and apparently the tier 2 of Reckoning is really fucking hard anyway, just because of where everyone's power level is after the new expansion. Mm-hmm. But Gambit Prime is really cool. I've actually really enjoyed it so far. It's much more back and forth than regular Gambit is, because it's very difficult to kill the boss in the first or even the second damage phase. So the first thing in Gambit Prime that we played, we actually went to time limit because the invasions were so good on both teams that like basically every time another team was invading, like they would get 3 kills. That's one of the downsides about the Well of Light coming out, is that your whole team will just kind of be grouped up in the same spot, so that if the invader decides to come over at that point, if they have like super, or if they have their rocket launcher, that could be a really quick team wipe if you're not careful. And that of course heals the primeval just like it does in regular Gambit. Reckoning is also fun. Of the various horde modes that Destiny has done, I'm probably enjoying this one the most. It's very similar to, if you guys remember when they did Haunted Forest during the Festival of the Lost or Season of the Lost or whatever it was. It's kind of a better version of that and a more difficult version of that, that you kind of have to coordinate with a team, and you also have to really look because they have the different modifiers that are in effect just like they do during the Nightfall strikes. So you want to kind of cater your loadout around whatever the good singe is, or if it's like Grenadier, you want to make sure that you have good grenades on so that you can do that. So I've really been enjoying Gambit Prime so far. That's the major highlight of this season. There's going to be some mild story stuff that has to do with the Drifter and the Nine, which is kind of wild because we haven't seen anything about the Nine so far. Apparently you're going to get to choose whether you kind of side with the Vanguard or side with the Drifter, because things are going to come to a head with those two factions. And you D1 fans can rejoice because the Thorn Quest drops today, as most of you are going to be listening to this. So you can start going after the Thorn, which was a very popular weapon in Destiny 1.
It was a very OP gun in Destiny 1.
Well, we'll see how it does in Destiny 2. I know Last Word didn't really take over the PvP meta. Like, it's very good, but it's not like the must use like it used to be in D1. So I don't know if Thorn will be the same way.
God, do you remember the Thorn in Destiny 1?
I see. I wasn't around for the Thorn's heyday.
Oh my Destiny God, 1. Dude. Like it was just like the dot damage was incredible. Like you hit somebody twice, no matter where you hit them, they're dead because the dot damage would kill them.
Like, it's funny because Ley Monarch is kind of does the same thing. Though it was like you couldn't one-shot someone with Ley Monarch. Like you could two-shot them if you landed the headshot, because that did the same thing where like when you shot them with a headshot, it would poison them. Mm-hmm. And also spread to other people around it as well. That didn't become like an OP thing in PvP either. It's a very good PvE weapon, I can tell you that. So
yeah, the Thorn was in D1. The Thorn was a little bit of a pain to get, but once you got it, like I had to get help getting it, but once you got it, like you used it. Let me ask you a question about Gambit Prime. Mm-hmm. Is it like, are people playing their roles, or are people just like Ramboing it?
You really have to, because you can't.
And can you be like, do you have to have one of the 4 roles? Can you have 2 damage dealers, or can you have 3 collectors?
So to be clear, what perks you get is based on the armor that you're wearing. So if you want 4 invaders on your team and you all have 4 like invasion armor sets that are fully spec'd out, you go right ahead. Like that, like that's totally fine. Obviously, it's more beneficial to your team play to have one person representing each role if possible. But sure, you can have 2 Reapers and like a Collector and a Sentry, and then maybe your invasions won't be as good, but you'll be really good at collecting motes and killing ads, which will help your team bank up faster. Should everyone play their roles? You kind of have to in this one, just because the strategies around banking are a little bit different. So, like you guys know because you played Gambit, one of the really popular strategies was to just spam 5 moat blockers like the little phalanxes all day long, and that was really annoying. Well, they changed the blockers that actually spawn with the different tiers. So now a 5 moat drop is a goblin, which is not a problem to deal with.
Yeah.
But a level 10 drop is a captain, which are a huge pain in the ass to deal with. So it's actually much more beneficial to, if you're going to bank as a team, to do like a 10 and 5 or 2 10s than it is to do a bunch of 5s at a time. The other thing is too, is that since you now have the drainage mechanic, it actually is not a benefit to bank first. Like the strategy that my team's been using, and by the way, we've won like 8 out of 9 matches that we've played so far, is to let the other team bank first while we're holding, and then we would all bank at the same time, so that all the moats that they would bank would just get zapped out, basically, because they wouldn't be dealing with the blockers because they were trying to farm ads.
God, I would be so pissed if I fought if like our team was on the other side. I play with randos. If our team was on the other side, nah.
Well, that's the only thing I will say about Gambit Prime, is that it is definitely a mode that you will have a much more fun time going in with 3 or 4 people that rather than solo queuing. I haven't solo queued in Gambit Prime yet, so I can't speak to that experience, but I have to imagine that unless you get lucky and end up with 3 people that are playing at the same time and talking to each other at the same time, that it is going to not be as fun, because I will definitely tell you that we are talking and strategizing and doing call outs more in Gambit Prime than we ever had to in regular Gambit, for sure.
Okay. I might get back into it, especially now that they have those catch-up bounties.
Oh, and that's the other thing too. If you did fall behind, as Micah alluded to, the Drifter does have 4 bounties. You can do all 4 in like an hour and a half, and they will give you a full set of 640 gear so that you can power up and be able to do the new stuff right away, which was the big complaint that folks had when Black Armory dropped.
Because I ain't got time. I didn't have time. Quite frankly, I didn't have time before. So,
what's that, Terrence?
Is all of this stuff free?
This is part of the annual pass. Some of the stuff is free, like Gambit Prime, everyone can play. The Reckoning, everyone can do. I know the Thorn quest is going to be specifically for annual pass owners. I know that the story elements are going to be specifically for annual pass owners. So obviously,
annual pass.
That's their season pass, basically, that they did for year 2.
I think the catch-up bounties are also for season pass owners, aren't they?
I'm not 100% sure about that one, because I think they want as many people as possible to be doing the new stuff. So I think those might actually be available for everybody as well.
Excellent. Does this mean you're getting back in it, Terrence?
No, I was just asking a question.
Pure curiosity.
Yeah, because I didn't know there was a season pass.
So I know we're going to save Terrence's DMC 5 thoughts for later in the show, because he's going to have a lot more to say. But I know, Micah, you said you just wanted to say a quick 2-second piece on.
Yeah. I haven't played a lot of Devil May Cry, but I say this with zero hyperbole. It's the best action game ever made. It is, and quite frankly, it might be a contender for Game of the Year. And I'm not even halfway done. Like, it feels that good to play this game.
Let me tell you, before you go onward, let me tell you a surprising statement. My experience with DMC consists of the demo for DMC 4, and I did not know what I was doing, and I was like, this sucks. I'm never playing this again because I'm not having fun. And just through listening to people talk about it and watching previews and stuff like that, I'm kind of curious to check out Devil May Cry 5.
You really should. Like, if you're ever going to give another Devil May Cry a chance, like, this is the one to do it. I haven't unlocked Dante yet.
You have?
No. I'm having a ton of fun with Nero. And with V, I was great. No, V is cool. V feels like something that Capcom is the way he plays, and I'll let Terrence describe it later, but the way he plays feels like something Capcom is trying to experiment with so they can implement it into another game. And because he plays it very different from what I assume Dante plays as, and very different from what Nero plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. It's I'm ready for the Bloody Palace. All the badass stuff that you see like in other games as like QTEs and stuff like that. Like, nah, you do that stuff in this game. And it's been like that for the other games, right? But this game gives you so many different options that if you kill somebody the same way over and over again, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, this game is
playing it wrong.
I mean, yeah, you're playing it wrong.
Yeah,
you are. So yeah, this is a must buy, man. And my only complaint, and I'm sure this will change, I'm sure I'll eat my words once I finish the game. It's a little easy. They only give you easy and normal, and like, I already feel overpowered, and I'm only halfway. I don't have anywhere near all the abilities unlocked or anything yet, but I feel like a badass with all those different devil breakers and V and his familiars, and yeah, man, it's a great game.
Well, there you go. And like I said, you guys probably want to hear Terrence's thoughts, as Micah said before the podcast started, and we will save that for later in the episode.
Yeah, got to keep you listening. Right. It's a radio tease.
It's called a tease in the business. So, new releases this week. The Division 2 comes out. Finally, the gold edition comes out as you guys are listening to this. The regular edition comes out this Friday. There's a Lego Marvel Superheroes collection that is releasing. MX versus ATV All Out Anniversary Edition comes out. One Piece World Seeker is coming out on PS4 digitally. And they are doing a Dissidia Final Fantasy NT free edition, where they are basically using the Killer Instinct model, where they will have a number of characters that are available every week that will rotate. So if you guys wanted to check out the Dissidia Final Fantasy, you can do that now for free on PS4. Just talk to Micah, though, as he will tell you, do not waste the most precious resource that you have available to you, and that is time.
Yeah, don't do it. It really sucks, man. And I am very, very, I'm pissed. It stinks. It stinks, man. That's why they're doing this free edition, because nobody's playing it.
Yeah, most likely that's correct. So
it stinks.
Wow. Not a good sign when a year after the game comes out, you're like, hey, they played for free, or 2 years, or however long it's been. So, like, Killer Instinct did it the opposite way. Probably it's the optimum way to do it if you're going to do that. So, some quick hit news for you. Rumors are pointing to a discless Xbox One coming this spring. This is, I think this might be the rumored like Scarlet thing that people have been talking about, but yeah, apparently a discless version of the Xbox One is rumored to be coming out in the spring. EA is going to eschew their traditional E3 press conference this year. They're still doing their word E3, but not really an E3 event. It starts on Friday, June 7th this year. Of course, they are like in the theater that's across the street from the convention center in LA where E3 is held. But they are not going to do the press conference. And I don't blame them. They never get good press from their press conference. So why bother doing it?
You know why? Because it always sucks.
That's fair enough.
And what are they going to say this year?
Right. Hey, let's show a 15-minute match of this mobile Command and Conquer game that we have that's coming out. That'll really keep butts in seats, to paraphrase Tony Schiavone. There's an Octopath Traveler prequel that is coming to mobile, only in Japan for now, though I'd have to imagine that it's going to make its way over to North America at some point, especially if the game is good. And a much requested feature is finally available on iOS, and that is PS4 Remote Play. So they have a special app that you can download to remote play your PS4 on your Apple device. Don't know why you'd want to actually play a game. I can understand like doing some menu navigation and whatnot with that, but I wouldn't be playing anything on my.
Have anyone ever used that?
Have you
before?
tried it?
I have, and it's not any game that requires like any modicum of precision timing. You do not want to remote play.
Any game that's not Tetris, you don't want to play.
You don't even want to play Tetris.
And look, yeah, because once the shit hits the fan,
yeah,
like you get the level 10, 11 and shit. No. Yeah, I tried it. It stinks. I use it as a remote to turn on my PlayStation if I need to watch like the WWE Network, and the controller is all the way over there.
Right. We don't have time to get up, but we do have. But we, that's good for that. But we don't need to play anything on there.
No, it stinks.
So, but hey, if you wanted it, it's now there for you. Congrats.
Yeah, because I don't even know how it works. I have it on my phone. I don't. How the fuck does it work? I don't have iOS. I have it on Android, but
so
it is like second screen, but it doesn't ever have anything as pertaining to the game I'm playing, or is it just specific games?
That's not the same thing.
Yeah, that's not the right.
Oh, so it doesn't exist on Android.
No, it's not on Android.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. It used to pretty much just be able to do it from your PC and your Vita if you had a PlayStation Vita.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, it's not. Trust me, it's not a feature that anyone needs to really invest in. And God help you if you are the asshole that is playing a real game online through remote play. Don't be that guy. Don't do it. Bit of housekeeping before we get to our topics this week. Don't forget to go to youtube.com/densepixels, click the red subscribe button, and ring the bell icon while you're there so that you never miss any video content that we post to YouTube, which includes video episodes of this podcast every week. Anytime I stream, it's on our YouTube channel, plus whatever other video nonsense that we get ourselves into. So again, youtube.com/densepixels. If you are not a premium member with TNP Studios, remedy that today by going to densepixels.com/premium. Sign up for just $5 a month or $50 for the whole year. You get weekly episodes of the Look Forward Political Podcast. We're back on the swing of things with the airing of grievances as well, with one of my favorite episodes this past week, the Fusilli Jerry episode. You also get the Men with the Golden Tongues, which Mike and I should be recording very soon here, our next episode for that, and No Time to Bleed, our action movie podcast. So again, $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. If you've never had premium before, there's over 300 hours of content that is waiting for you, much of it evergreen that you can listen to whenever you want. And of course, no matter what podcatching app you use, don't forget to subscribe to this show, The Nerdpocalypse, Black on Black Cinema, and Coming Distractions so that you can get new episodes every single week from all of the excellent TNP studio shows. I would like to start with Terrence. I'd like to hear about what a good Devil May 5, great Devil May Cry 5 player thinks about.
Oh, no, not yet. Look, I am a huge fan of the Devil May Cry series. I bought the first one when it came out. What was that? 17 years ago? 18 years ago?
Yeah. It can.
God damn, 2001.
Devil May Cry can vote, y'all.
Right. That shit is old. And I fell in love with that game. The game wasn't easy. It was quite difficult, the first iteration of it, at least. They have since come out with other iterations of it. And I think they've done this with all of them. Devil May Cry 2, if everyone has been listening to this show for years knows that was the only thing I've ever bought from eBay. I will ever be, apparently. Yeah, it's stupid, but the game sucks. It's like not just as a Devil May Cry game, but as an action game in and of itself. It's one of the worst action games I've ever played. It's terrible.
Before you continue,
yes,
I found something fun. Did you watch the history of Devil May Cry on the video that comes with the game?
Yes.
So the history, they do a text history of Devil May Cry, right? And they start with the chronological one first, Devil May Cry 3, because that was the prequel, right?
Yes.
And they go on about, Dante and Virgil and Arkham and Lady, right? And then they talk about Devil May Cry 1, right? And then they say, oh, this takes place a few years later. And all of a sudden, here's Trish. And we find out that Dante is the son of a legendary demon knight, the Sparta, right? And then some other shit happens. And then Devil May Cry 4 comes out. Like they literally yada Devil May Cry 2. It is hilarious.
Yeah, it sucks. It's terrible, man. But then Devil May Cry 3
to me, that's just fan service.
Yeah, it has to be. Then Devil May Cry 3 came out, and to me and to many other people, that is the best Devil May Cry. It was the best Devil May Cry game. It was just the best. 4, I like 4. The problem with 4 is like the gameplay was still there, but the game itself sucked. It just wasn't.
I never played Devil May Cry 4, but so from what I understand, you went through the main story as Nero, and then you had to reverse through the main story as Dante. So literally, you like mementoed Devil May Cry, but you had to like play the same levels right around one another.
Yeah, you essentially went through the levels as Nero, and then you went through them as Dante. You're like, well, what kind of bullshit is this? But Dante had his like a ridiculous move set. Like he had a bunch of different weapons, a bunch of different styles. He had a style system in 3 where you had to choose which style you wanted before the actual mission started. In 4, they just gave it to him, all 4 styles. So you can just switch between styles, switch between guns, and it was insane. It's a lot to take in. The MC came out, and well, I liked it, but it has nothing to do with any of the 4 main games. And now this is out. Yeah, it's good. It is. Yeah, as an entire package, it is the best Devil May Cry game ever. Like totally graphical, gameplay. There's 3 characters instead of 2 and instead of 1. I finished it on what's the second, whatever the hell. And I didn't do the regular bullshit first. I don't even know what it's called. Human mode.
I don't know. I didn't pick it.
Yeah, don't do that. I mean, but there's an achievement to beat that yeah, there's the trophy for beating it on the lowest difficulty. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Wait, don't they give you the low difficulty trophy when you beat it on mid difficulty?
No.
What?
No, they don't. And I was like, what the fuck is that? I want to get a platinum. I don't know. I might just mash buttons to win through because it's easy mode. But I finished it last night on the 2nd difficulty, and I started on Son of Sparta mode. And it changes things up on Son of Sparta mode. Like there are enemies in the beginning of the game that you don't see till later on in the game, in the beginning at this point, and they take more damage. So it gives you more time to actually get your S ranks and shit like that. But gameplay wise, yeah, it's got everything that 3 had and 4 had, but it puts it into a better story. The story is, look, the story of Devil May Cry is ridiculous.
If you want to know the story of Devil May Cry, like, just turn on a like Underworld and listen to some Evanescence, because that's it.
It seems very anime from someone observing it from afar.
It's. I mean, there were 2. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there were 2 revelations. One I saw coming from a mile away, and then another one I was like, oh shit, I don't know why my dumb brain didn't think of it. Which were pretty cool. But back to the gameplay. The game looks beautiful. It's on that RE engine. That thing is amazing. Like Capcom they've created something that they're going to be using for quite some time because it does some amazing things. Like the facial animations. The only problem I have with the facial animations in that RE engine is no one closes their fucking mouth.
Yo, that hillbilly girl
bothers me.
That hillbilly girl with her mouth like this.
Yeah, it bugs me. I don't understand. I don't understand why. And all of their games, even RE2, like people talk with their mouth open. Like when they're not talking, they never have their mouth closed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this because you want them to see the teeth fit? Whatever. Anyway, the story, It's probably next to 3, which was still slightly convoluted. It's probably the best that the storytelling has been. Again, it looks beautiful. Onto the gameplay. Nero, if you said you haven't even gotten to Dante yet,
yeah,
nigga, there's so much shit to unlock. There's so much. I haven't unlocked everything yet. I'm not even close to unlocking everything yet. And I've beaten it. On because the game, like the way Devil May Cry games are designed, and there are people that don't like this design choice, is like, okay, you finish the game. That's not it. Because there are 4 other modes to try to finish the game on, and they get tougher and more difficult. And as you get better, you'll be able to take those modes on. So if you finish the game on normal mode and you're like, oh, that was fun, like you just wasted money.
Yeah.
Like it's next to 1. 1 was like an experiment and it just happened to work out. Well, 1 and 2, because fuck 2. But the game is designed for you to get better and better. And once you unlock all of those moves, then the whole purpose of it is to look as cool as possible as you are running through the levels, and to get those triple S ranks, and to like not take any damage during a mission, so you can get the triple S rank instead of just S. And this game, I have yet to do it because I still I haven't figured out all of the attack patterns for all the enemies just yet, but I'm getting better. Nero, he's pretty similar to what he was in Devil May Cry 4. V is vastly different than any other character I've ever played in an action game. Like he has 2 familiars. He's got Falcon. What is it called? It's Shadow and Griffin. He's kind of just walking around the stage. He doesn't attack at all, but his 2 familiars do. So one is tied to one button and another is tied to another button. And the other thing about it is when he dodges, and like he'll do a back dodge that uses Griffin, so that takes Griffin out of the battle. Like if you have to dodge backwards, he grabs him by his feet and he pulls him back. That takes him out of the battle. And as far as Shadow, when you dodge left and right, he uses Shadow to dodge left and right. So that takes him out of the battle for that. So you have to be mindful of like dodging attacks using him. And then you have to be mindful of where they are positioned on the screen. You have to be mindful of like what, because some moves you have to first like back forward and then triangle. That doesn't move for Griffin, or you just hold. I had to actually remap the buttons for him because that shit wasn't working. Like square and triangle just wasn't working for them. So I mapped the Griffin to L2, so I could just still like press it like a trigger, so he could shoot and still be able to press triangle. But it like all of those things come together. It sounds like a lot, and it is. But once you start to get into the groove of how they work and like where they're positioned, I still have trouble because it's just, and there's a slight delay with what they do in regards to what you press on your controller. So it's kind of hard. And that's hard. It's a lot of, I've seen a lot of people say that it's easy for them to get through levels with him, but for me, it's a lot more difficult. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he's fighting back. I'm just used to just running in and just fucking shit up with Nero and Dante.
Yeah, like it messes with your muscle memory because you're used to instant, feedback. If you press, triangle or Y, that's your melee.
Swing a sword, right?
You swing a sword, and no matter what. This one, first you got to press it to summon them, then you press it, and it's not immediate. It's like you're a coach, and you're telling him, okay, this is what you need to do. And if you don't have a target locked, then he'll attack any target. So if you have to go to a specific target, and then like you said, man, like you got to make sure that you don't get hit. So you're moving around the battlefield, but some buttons require directional input, or some moves
so then you have to lock on.
Input. Right. And
sometimes he's not where he needs to be. I'm like, yo, you stupid fucking cat. Come on, yo. Like it gets annoying sometimes, but I still like him. It's just a lot different.
And then you can like increase their attacks. You can double trigger them, and then you got a third familiar that you
have Nightmare. And then that's the secret to getting triple S. Because as soon as you get his double trigger just like charged up, just bring out Nightmare. And he just fucks everything up on the screen.
Yeah.
He just blows everything up. You're like, well, okay.
You can jump on top of them. Yeah. You can like if they die, you have to wait for them to respawn, but you can respawn them quicker if you stand next to him. Meanwhile, you can recharge your own like energy by reading a poem at the same time, like while all this shit is going on. It's wild, man.
You have this R2. He pulls out a book and he starts reading poetry, and then charges up the devil trigger. It's Brad is like, what the fuck is going on?
I knew I was in for ridiculousness when I got to hear about this game, so I'm not like shocked, but it's just like, all right,
he is wild. I'm like, yo, this is fucking crazy, but it works. It works. Again, that delay pisses me off sometimes. I don't know if that's like,
I will say that I do commend them for taking this new character and forcing people to use him from the get-go, because like I said, you guys already know how Dante and Nero are going to play. Like, it's good that they kind of, force everyone to learn something new, even if you're a Devil May Cry veteran.
Right. And then we get to Dante. This nigga has everything you can possibly, like, he has so many, like, he's him. Like, it's gonna take a while. Like, I've once you finish the game, you unlock everything he has. As far as the weapons, okay, this is what he has. He has 4 weapons. He has four melee weapons. He has 4 guns. He has 4 styles. Yeah,
no,
that's a lot. Like mixing and matching that shit to pull off crazy combos. I'm like, he had that in 3, but he didn't have as much. Like, he has his regular sword. He's got a pair of three-pronged nunchucks that you get, and there was some other like callbacks to some of the other games, which is kind of dope. He's got the nunchucks. He's got the motorcycle. Like, what?
Does he have the axe guitar?
No, he doesn't have that.
Okay, because I was about to say,
like the nunchucks kind of take the place of that. They have very similar attacks to that. So he's got the sword, motorcycle, the nunchucks. And what's the 4th weapon? The 4th melee weapon. Oh, and the
gauntlets or whatever.
Yeah, the gauntlets. So he's got those. Then, as far as the weapon, the ranged weapons, he's got ebony and ivory. He's got the shotgun. He has a hat that he gets that uses orbs as ammunition. He uses your red orbs that you collect as ammunition.
Nope.
The crazy thing is, like, it's a risk reward thing, because if you use that and you use it properly, you'll get more red orbs than you expend. So it's fucking wild. And then he has a rocket launcher. So, like, imagine that's 8 different weapons, and he's got 4 different styles. He's got Trickster, which lets him like dash around the ring, and he can teleport and all this other shit. He has Royal Guard, which allows him to block if you can time it perfectly. He can block every single move in the game, just like 3. Like, he can literally like parry every single move, but you have to do it like perfect parry in order for him to do it, so he doesn't lose his devil trigger. Because if you do it wrong, like each time you block something, a segment of your devil trigger rush. But if you time it perfectly, it doesn't, and it charges it up quicker. And then once you charge up to a certain amount, you can expend it, and it's an incredibly powerful attack. Then you have Gunslinger, that allows you to have extra moves with your weapons, with your ranged weapons. And the last one is Swordmaster, which basically gives you extra moves with all of your melee weapons. It's almost too much. But he's Dante. He's like he's the titular character in the series. So of course he's gonna have the most. Like, but imagine like running into battle, and then you're like, I want to see if this, like, you can do, giving the tools that you have within the confines of the game, if you can think of something, you can do it. Wow. And that's why I love the Devil May Cry series, because there are some canned animations where you have to wait for it to finish, but like you can jump cancel and fucking dash cancel, all kind of crazy shit like that. But if you're like, hey, I want to fight this boss, so if I can do this, and then I can change it to this style and do this, or if he comes and attacks me, I can like parry this and then parry again, or go back into Swordmaster or dash. And it's crazy. It's basically like a freestyle fighting game. It's like a freestyle action adventure game, and like I can't say enough about how intuitive it is, because since there's so much, you think like it's just impossible. You can't possibly pull that shit off. But if you look up some combo videos, like, niggas are doing shit already. The game been out for 72 hours. And they're pulling up shit that I'm like, I don't think I will ever be able to do that. I don't think my fingers can pull that shit off. No, it's almost like you need a fucking arcade stick to do this shit. It's weird.
I will say, because I know you guys aren't going to probably talk about it just because you guys aren't going to do this because you're veterans of the series. But apparently they do have like an easy mode in the game.
Yeah, if you just hold, if you just press R3, just click in the right stick, it'll activate easy mode, and you can just push buttons and it'll do cool shit for you.
Nah,
but you can't do that. You know, nah, I mean, I get it, but that's like, what the fuck?
It's cheap.
You didn't earn that. You didn't earn it. No, you didn't. Like, nah, fuck out of here. But like, yeah, again, like if you can think of it within the confines of the game, you will be able to do it, regardless of what character you have. Nero, like his combos look really dope, but Dante is just on another fucking level. Like, it's just insane. Like, yeah, you're right. This is between RE2 and this. They have like 2 Game of the Year contenders on their hands, and it's fucking March.
Yo, let me find out. Let me find out that Capcom is back circa 2001.
That shit
with Resident Evil and like, is it like?
I mean, I don't think they're coming out with anything else this year.
I mean,
like, first 3 months. Fuck
what happened with Street Fighter, yo? Like, this just really makes me mad about Street Fighter.
Yeah, now they just gotta work on their fighting games. Because these 2 games, look, I love this fucking game, man. Like, it's that good.
It's phenomenal, man. It's phenomenal. All the different things, and like Nero has like his like bandolier of different arms that you can use, but they're one-time use. And if they break, and you just get another one. And if all of them break, well, you just can't use any of them.
Yeah, you don't have nothing.
Right. And if you pick one up off the ground, no matter where it is, like you can't switch between them. Yeah. Like you have all this variety, but there's strategy, right? Because let's say you're in a situation where you need, rawhide, and you have the Mega Buster equipped. The Mega Buster ain't going to do nothing, so you can blow it up if you need to. Like that's a move in and
that's
of
like
itself.
an AoE move that clears everything away from you.
Yo, like everything, like this game sounds so complicated, but once you start playing it, you will feel like Neo in the Matrix. Like you will feel one with this shit. Once you start ranking up like double S combos and triple S combos and shit, yo, it's.
If you've never played a Devil May Cry game before, you said you've only played a little bit of 4. Like that wasn't a good entry.
That doesn't even count because again, it was the demo for
that was The crazy thing is, like, I would say 1. I would start with 1, honestly. If you never played,
let's be clear. I'm not going to do that. Like if I play any of them, it's going to be DMC5. So
yeah, but like 1 would be the starting point because 1, you didn't really have shit. Like if you go back to play 1, he had like 3 combos and 2 weapons, and like in order to, you could cheat that game because with the grenade launcher, there was a way that you roll canceled into the grenade launcher, and that thing always charged up your special meter. Not only did it charge up your devil trigger, but it charged up your combo gauge. So once you got that, you could just literally just roll cancel fucking grenades, and you just get S ranks every match, every level.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. So like the power fantasy is what's one of the things I really enjoy about games. Like it's one of the things that for all like the bullshit that is getting slung at Anthem. Like when you like level up and get your gear and learn how to like use the javelin efficiently, like you feel like a fucking monster in that game, and you can beat the shit out of things. So like having games like that is very appealing, and that is the reason that I'm kind of interested about DMC5. I mean, like all I had to hear was someone talk about like how Dante, like you could fucking ride around the motorcycle and then like splits in 2 and you can fucking smash people over the head with it. I'm just like, this sounds insane. But it sounds like it might be fun.
But like, don't get it twisted. Like, even when you become really good,
you ain't that good.
High difficulty level.
Your
ass. You don't know what you're doing. Like,
I'm not going to watch people streaming Devil May Cry 5, so I can live in my ignorant bliss.
And talking about Devil May Cry 5, because Devil May Cry 5 is a game. It's a game-ass game. And that brings me to my question or my topic is this is a AAA game. It's a AAA title. This absolutely is. And you don't see AAA titles that are like just like games. Everyone is going towards realism now. Like this one, you walk into an area and the walls close, and you can't leave until you defeat all of the enemies. I mean, that's the type of game I'm talking about. So this being a AAA game and it being that type of game, is there still, like, with this being really good? And I think this is their second. I think I read something somewhere, at least on Steam, this is their second most downloaded game or some shit like that ever for Capcom. It's some crazy stat like that. But this being a AAA game, do you think that people still want these types of games? Or because this game is being talked about like crazy, and this is essentially Devil May Cry is like, it's a niche game, all intents and purposes. Like, no, like people don't like, yo, I'm hyped for that. There's a certain sect of people like me, myself included, that are hyped for this type of game, but it's not like a GTA or everyone buys it.
Yeah, that's why I was absent for. That's why I was absent for 8 years or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I think, because I know what you're saying, and you know, filthy casuals like me are we want filthy casuals want experience, like God of War is like an experience, right? Like it's a game, but it's a story with, you know, with game thrown in it, right? Like
right.
Spider-Man is the story is the thing. Like it's fun to play, but like it's the story that keeps you coming back. You're not gonna fire up Spider-Man just to be like, oh, let me see if I can get my combo meter up.
I did. But that's because I'm in that DMC mindset. And that's weird because essentially Devil May Cry created that entire
but filthy casuals like me want those single player experiences. Companies don't want single player experiences. They want live services that can get money from you for the next 3 years until the sequel to the live service comes out. I don't know, man. I think there is a market for it, but with all these other games, like the live service games that just keep people coming back for more and more and more, it's got to be stellar. It's got to be the perfect game, and Devil May Cry is the perfect action game. Like it hits that thing that Diablo does, where you do all this stuff and you get all these moves just to go back out there and do the cool stuff just to get more money to unlock more moves, and then hopefully like you enjoy what you're doing, because
it's funny too, because the ironic thing, so this is probably going to be the most successful Devil May Cry game, most likely based on reviews, based on the hype. It might already be, for all we know. You know what's funny though is that it could end up being a victim of its success because of the world we live in. What if Capcom was like, wow, Devil May Cry 5 hit, it's great, people love it, we did a great job. What if we do what Diablo does, and we'll put out like a new season of Devil May Cry content that'll give you like new devil triggers that you can get and new outfits that you can earn for the different characters. So like I can see them looking at this game's success and trying to figure out a way to turn it into a game that is somewhat of a live service or a living product.
I could see them putting out different costumes and shit like that, because they had like the Devil Hunter edition, or what the fuck you call it.
Don't they even have like one of the devil triggers you can get is like a Mega Man, like literal Mega Buster? Like, wasn't that a thing?
If you buy the like limited edition.
I have it, and it's hilarious. Like Brad, he jumps like Mega Man. He jumps like Mega Man.
Well, I heard if you die with that equipped too, like it even does like the Mega Man sound.
Yeah, man, it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
So I can see them doing costumes and shit like that. And yeah, you're right, like the different devil busters. But the biggest complaint I have about this game is like the last half is really samey, because there's one section that you go through this world and it's the same level, essentially, not the same level, but it's the same area. and of the last like maybe 5 or 6 levels are basically the same damn thing over and over again, just with different characters. So if there was one knock I had on it, it would be that. But again, it's the gameplay. That's the thing that keeps you coming back for the game. And then there is a microtransaction where you can just pay $2 and it's 100,000 orbs. I could see why someone would do that, because again, I've beaten the game already and I still don't have everything unlocked. So if you pay like $10, you'll probably be able to unlock everything from the get go. But I'm not going to do that. No, fuck you.
No, there's way too much. Like there's way too much replay value to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, the replay value is still there because you'll have all of the moves, and then you'll just be able to just focus on, okay, let's see what I can do combo wise.
But like I said, like when you describing it like that though makes like that just reminds me of Diablo 3 at launch. Like I said, before they had the living stuff. So like I said, it like Devil May Cry exists outside of what the trend is in gaming, but I could easily see it becoming part
sucked
of that
right into that fucking trend. And it kind of is dabbling its toe with those $2.99 or $1.99 fucking red orbs that you can pull in. So I don't know, but like this is if I were to give it a letter grade because of that last section, 9.5 out of 10, because nothing's perfect.
Right.
But like this thing, or my number grade, I said letter.
I'm about to say, I thought you were gonna be funny and give it like a single S instead of a triple S.
It's awesome, man. I love the game. If again, this probably would be a good entry because they give you that whole backstory. Yeah, like whatever, you don't have to play the rest.
Whatever. Who cares? Dante's a badass. Nero works with him, and nobody knows who V is. So
there you go.
There you go.
And one last thing, because this is funny. People hated DMC. Yeah, no one liked that game. I mean, well, people did like that game. No one liked that game. Nero is very similar.
I mean,
to DMC Dante. In this game, like he's cursing and shit.
Yeah,
like there's a part where you fight that stupid shadow with the scissors. He's like, oh, you want me to chase you? Like, I'll fuck you, yo. You got to come to me or some shit like that. I'm like, wait, what? Like, wow, dude.
But it's like, and it's like super corny too. Like every single one of these guys are just fucking cornballs. Like instead of flock off Featherface, like in the first one, like they curse, right? But it's still like Nero's like, bam, he puts his sword into the ground. He revs up his sword and he says, like something like, I'm back in this bitch. Yeah. Like, all right. Johnny Young Boss, shut up.
So like the characters look very strange. They look weird.
Yo,
he looks like Cody Rhodes. Dante looks like fucking who did I say he looks like? He looks like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And V looks like, I don't fucking know what the fuck that nigga look like.
Yeah, that Southern girl, she really gets on my nerves with that voice. I hate that voice. That voice it can't come out of that face. It can't.
And everyone's tied into each other in this game as well. That's the other cool thing. Yeah. And there's a scene in later on when I'm like, this is poor timing. But like you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you get there. It's Dante. And he gets a certain weapon and he does some shit. I'm like, too soon.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, I know.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen.
Like, wow, because I hadn't seen it before.
Shimon, I've seen it. Shimon now.
Okay, but yeah, awesome game. If you're thinking about picking it up, Brad, just go ahead and do it. I don't know how much fun you'll have with it, or how much time you'd be willing to put into it.
And see, that's the other thing I'm worried about is I know I'm not going to sit there and master the game. Like I'm not ever going to do that. It would even if you become like super efficient with the controls, you'll still feel like a fucking badass. Once you learn the because again, it's all about learning the character, the enemy's patterns and all other shit. But then pulling off badass shit in the midst of like being able to dodge and all that. It's awesome, man. So you talking about live services sort of segues me into what I wanted to talk about this week. So, and this is kind of almost a continuation of what we talked about last week. And it's getting to experience Anthem off and on for another week. And also just kind of like sitting back and kind of taking it in and seeing like how far Destiny 2 has come, right, in the year and a half that the game's come out, and especially like how quickly like Bungie was able to react in this newest expansion from just the one that came out a couple months ago, and that the fact that they've left Activision might have a little something to do with that. It lets them be a little quicker on their feet, I wonder, with stuff like this. And I've really just come to the determination, and also seeing the success of like Apex Legends as well, which can't be understated. I mean, you guys weren't here last week, but 50 million users in a month is fucking ridiculous. Like that's an unbelievable number. And I really feel like the AAA studios for these games that live in these universes and have a lot of kinks to iron out and that just aren't going to launch in a releasable state, because for all the defending of Anthem that I've done, and to be fair, like people are extremely hard on that game for like taking joy in its struggles, which is not a good look really for anybody. But
my thing with Anthem is just EA. And I still think it shouldn't have been released in the state that it's in.
Well, no, and like I said, even with all they fixed and like they can't catch a break, right? Because like they fix the they come out with all these fixes, and all of a sudden like they push this patch out, and all of a sudden Masterworks start dropping like crazy, and that wasn't supposed to be that way. So like for 12 hours, everyone's really happy, and then they tone it back, and everyone's pissed off again. Like they can't catch a break. You know what I mean? Like every time they 2 steps forward, 1 step back constantly. And I really feel like the AAA studios for these big budget games, and this is a tricky thing that they're going to have to do, but I really feel like they're going to have to figure out a way to do early access for these games. And I'm not talking about what EA did with Anthem, where they released it on PC a week before the main game came out and released on Xbox One a week before the main game came out, and you could play it for 10 hours or whatever it was. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about putting this game out there in the wild, and maybe you have to pay the full $60 for it. Maybe you only have to pay $40 for it. Maybe you don't pay for it at all. But just putting this game out there and putting it out there in a state that people understand, look, the game's not finished yet. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed before we can call this build like a release candidate. It's going to be buggy. There's going to be imbalances in the gameplay and in the loot pool and stuff like that. And I really feel like that for any game like this, to avoid the level of vitriol that Anthem has gotten in the future, and Fallout 76 is in this conversation, and Destiny 2, even though Destiny 2 was well received, it only took like 2 months for people to be like, man, there's not a whole lot here right now, is there? And so on and so forth. So I think AAA studios need to figure out a way for this to happen, because all we've seen from this early access phenomenon that's crept up in the last 3 years is success from the people that have used it, like Fortnite, PUBG. Those are 2 of the seminal games this generation. Apex Legends didn't necessarily release in early access, but now we're seeing, like, after this first month, they are putting some patches out there, some changes. They're making the Wingman and the Peacekeeper a little bit worse than they were before, because those guns are dominating the meta right now and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that's a lot from the PC version, because
right,
the Wingman is not nearly as good on the console as the PC version. It just isn't.
So I was curious to also hear what you guys thought, if you guys had any different thoughts or could expand on my thoughts about trying to figure out like a true early access for these games that just need more time, and especially time with a mass audience getting their hands on them before they can really be in good shape.
I mean, I think developers would love it, right? But unless you're going to publish your own game, I don't see some corporate nobody or some corporate dickhead who only cares about numbers and doesn't necessarily care about the quality of the product. I don't see them signing off on something like that. I mean, it's a good idea, but that's why you get stuff like, oh, this is going to be a stress test. Like, yeah, I don't know,
because when the full game comes out, the servers still be mad stressed, my nigga, because it just don't make sense.
Yeah, like I was talking to a buddy at work who is for some reason really looking forward to the Division 2, whatever floats your boat. And he was like, yeah, because Ubisoft has all those different tiers of game, and he was like, yeah, I was going to get the gold edition, but all you get is like a skin or a gun that will be useless, in 2 hours, and early access to it. And, meaning today, as you listen to this, the actual release date and not the delayed release date of Friday, which that's a whole nother thing that fucking pisses me off, but whatever. And he said, yeah, I just bought the regular edition. I'm going to let all those suckers who paid an extra $20 to play it 3 days earlier, I'm going to let them get frustrated with all the server crap that's going to happen. And then I'll play it on Friday. I mean, maybe you can do something like that, but that doesn't really help the situation, because I don't know, man, because you're always going to have people who complain. A lot of this is an equal part to this is influencers and people who are, who play games professionally to give their opinions on them. Like, they blow through this thing, they have a good time. Like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, they play a game, they have a good time, they expend 3 months of content in 3 days, and they're like, well, now I'm bored and this game sucks. Like, you gotta, yeah, the developers and publishers need to do a better job, but you also have to be realistic, man. Like, it takes a lot of time to do this stuff.
I keep going back to PUBG, and PUBG, obviously, like, comparing PUBG to a game like Anthem is not apples to apples, because PUBG was $30 when it came out. But I almost feel like that if you're like, hey, pay $60 for the early access version. Look, if you don't want to deal with the bugs, if you don't want to be what essentially equates to a beta tester for this game, and you want to wait for the full release, go right ahead. If you get the early access edition, you're going to put up with some bullshit. You're not going to have to buy the game again when it comes out. Like, you've already paid your $60. Yeah. We'll probably give you some free in-game stuff to thank you for doing that. Maybe we'll give you some free in-game currency when the full release happens, or you'll get like a title or like a fucking cosmetic item that indicates that you were that you were an early access player. I need a AAA game to come out to just fucking do it. Like, it's I don't even know what publisher would go along for the ride with this. But I feel like it really does need to happen, because I need to see it work, so that can just be the way things work. And look, there's a lot of people that aren't going to like that, by the way. Like, if that becomes like the norm, especially as more and more games are becoming like this live service thing, there are gonna be some people that are fucking pissed. Like, there are already people right now, they're like, back when it was a Super Nintendo, when a game would release, it would just be done. You don't have to worry about DLC. And I'm just like, yeah, but the gaming's better now than it was. I'm sorry, it is.
Yeah,
than it was back then.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo cartridges didn't cost $20 million to make.
That's also yeah, exactly. So like, I feel like I just need someone to do it. Like, I need to see it happen, or at least be marketed correctly. Again, I talked with Carrie last week about better marketing being necessary for these games, and now I just want to, like I said, I just want to see one come out in early access for $60, and just see what happens, and just see if that somehow makes it better. Because then then IGN can't go out and review it and put a score on it, right? So that you don't have the shitty Metacritic score hanging over the head of the game, and you don't have influencers that can be like, wow, this finished product is a piece of shit. They can talk about the fact that, hey, this is something that's still in development. Here's the state of where it's at right now.
So if you want them to do that, what's the window of early access between early access and full release that are you talking about?
And how do you market it?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this game, if they like, say at E3, they announce a game, it's going to be a live service game, and then it's slated to come out in like March of next year. But if you want early access, you pay the $60 early and get it in like January. So it gives you like a 3-month buffer for them to fix whatever the fuck is wrong with it.
I think 3 to 6 months is probably the window. And plus, you do get like when you do it this way, you do get the added benefit of constantly having your name out there. You know what I mean? As you put out updates and you push new features into the game like that, people will keep talking about your game, and you're going to get that zeitgeist, that dovetail that not every game. And then see, that's the problem too with I mean, not a problem, but the downside of having that game that just comes out and like Devil May Cry, people probably aren't going to be talking about DMC5 in a month. You know what I mean? Right. So I mean that, and so you get the added benefit of keeping your name in people's mouth, basically. So like I said, I feel like it could work. I feel like we're at a state now where a big publisher could make that happen. It's just someone's got to be willing to take the chance. But unfortunately, I can't see it being an EA or an Activision or an Ubisoft because they have shareholders they have to answer to. Yep. And I don't think that stockholders are going to understand the wide scheme for something like that. So it's going to have to be a smaller company. But if someone can pull it off really well, then hopefully we could see that in the future.
But here's the thing: where's that $60 like that the early adopters are going to go? Like that's still $60 that they just made, even if it is early access.
Yeah, but I think the fact that you say it's early access helps dissuade a lot of the negative PR. Like if anything, it's a PR move because you could make the argument that Anthem is currently in. You could
really make the argument that shit is in early access.
No, I mean, like the coin that I turned on the show that I like to use is Anthem is in Delta right now. You know what I mean?
Because it like I know. Look, I know you like enjoy the game, and again, I really enjoyed the fucking combat. That shit it's not finished, and I know they have that roadmap, but
it's not done. I mean, there's still technical issues that
that's crazy,
leaguing the game, and trust me, I feel every bit of it. Trust me, as time does wear on.
Has your system crashed yet?
That happened to me twice. Last week before they fixed it.
Yeah, that's another reason why I hadn't been on in a while. That's the last thing I need right now.
Right, and look, man, like and again, like as we get further away from the release date, my tolerance for that type of thing does erode a little bit. Like we're at the point now where if I'm getting server kicked out of a match, I'm like, guys, come on, like this is like this is
like what are you doing at this point? So yeah, I mean, I could see that working, and I could see you pitching that to shareholders. Like, look, it's still $60. We want to put out the best product possible, or else it's going to get slammed, and we're not going to make the money that you want us to make.
And look,
so the people, it's weird. I don't understand.
And the people that are your most devoted fans are still going to buy the early access.
Yeah, they are. And then those morons that pay $18 for fucking skins are still going to pay for the shit. Because I've seen people with those $18 skins on Apex Legends, and I'm like, y'all niggas are crazy. Or you just have a lot of money. Like I wish I had your money, because that's crazy to me. But anyway, I don't see why they wouldn't. You're right. I don't see why they wouldn't just go ahead and do that.
Nah,
because it feels like, first of all, it feels like the right thing to do, and again, it feels like, hey, we're letting you know what this is. Like, never be an early adopter for something, because it's always gonna be fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where it is actually to your to your detriment to be an early adopter of games.
Yeah,
which is weird. Which is really weird. So
I'm never paying for early access for shit. Fuck that. Like I don't like sitting through broken games. That shit makes me mad. It just really does. And I'm not gonna take the time out to be like, this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong. I'll leave it to everybody else.
So
I'll wait for the finished product. I'm too old.
So Micah, let's talk about now. I was going to talk about this story last week, but it wasn't quite resolved yet, and I wanted to wait for the resolution, and I wanted to gain some distance from it because I wanted to make sure that we could talk about it with the. Talking about what we need to talk about with this story.
I don't know what the fuck this is.
So this is so like my wife brought this to me. That's how mainstream.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. She sent me an article on Business Insider about this game called Rape Day. And look, Rape Day is an indie game about here's the log line from the developer. Rape Day is a game where you can rape and murder during the zombie apocalypse. Look, I don't want to go into necessarily what Rape Day is and all that shit. It's called Rape Day. That's all you really need to know about it. What I want to talk about is free speech and why people are stupid and they don't know what free speech means.
Well, and what I want to talk about, and this will lead into what you are talking about.
All right.
Steam sucks, guys.
Yeah, it is.
Steam sucks
it's
ass.
It's a cesspool, man.
So we talked a few months ago about how Steam decided to wash their hands of content curation for their marketplace because they just couldn't be bothered anymore. So they said, you know what? Put whatever fucking turd you want on Steam Direct, and as long as we can prove that the game works, we're going to put it on our store. We've talked over the years about the exponential growth of Steam games in their marketplace on their platform. Apparently, something else I didn't realize was a problem is that apparently developers used to be able to manipulate release dates on the games to constantly bump them forward so that they would always float up to the top of the queue in terms of new releases. Mm-hmm. So Valve cannot be bothered to curate the Steam store. And we've talked about this in the past. And what we've also talked about in the past is that because if you fall asleep at the wheel, willingly, in this case, in Valve's case, this is the inevitability that's going to happen. You're going to have someone that's going to come along and test how far that you're willing to push this statement. And here's the fun part. So Valve originally was going to allow the game to be published on the Steam store because of course they were. Because it's fucking Valve and they suck. Never forget that Valve is fucking shitty. They of course got, a wrath of shit for it. Like the uproar came. How the fuck are you going to publish this game on your store? Here's the best part. The best part is Valve's like, all right, we're going to pull it. But here's why we're going to pull it. We're going to do it because we figured out, we've decided that this game poses unknown cost and risk to the Steam store. And therefore, we're not going to put this game. They're not doing it because out of a moral obligation. They're doing it because they're afraid of what's going to do to their bottom line.
Yeah.
Which is the most Valve thing that I could ever fucking picture in my entire life. And this is why when the stories came out about, Ubisoft's not putting shit on Steam anymore. Oh, Metro Exodus is getting yanked from Steam and going exclusively to the Epic Store.
Yeah,
I didn't really fucking care. That Valve was getting hosed.
Everybody was pitching a fit because I'm gonna have to open a different launcher in order to play my game. Well, open a different fucking launcher then,
right?
Dude.
In the words of Carrie, and this is the only thing that I could think of in reference to Valve, when you play bitch games, you win bitch prizes. So if Valve decides that they want to fucking wash their hands of any responsibility for what gets published on their platform, except when it affects business, except when it affects the bottom line, we don't want to be construed as, promoting rape. That could be detrimental to Steam's business. So that's why we're going to take it off the store. Not the fact that a game like this, it makes us feel shitty that violates the moral obligation that we had the folks. No. This might affect our bottom line. Eat shit, Valve. Like, I don't really give a fuck about you at this point. Steam could close up shop for all I care and just fucking leave forever. I wouldn't give a shit. Go to the Epic Game Store and look, this is the kind of shit like you just being like, whatever. It's not our problem. Like, what are the fuck broken piece of shit game that people make on there? That's going to get serious developers to go to the Epic Store and not put up with your bullshit anymore.
Yeah, they already do.
Right. So like I said, this story just encapsulated everything that I hate about Valve into a very, very, small package. And like I said, you had to see this fucking coming. Even the developer of the game was like, I can't believe that they were going to let me publish the game on the Steam store. I probably shouldn't have tried that in the first place. So I guess I'm just going to have to publish it myself. Even the developer knew what he was doing. Even he knew. I didn't chew. God.
I mean, I'm not mad at the developer for trying to put it on the Steam store. I'm mad at the developer for developing a game called Rape Day. But
yeah, why is he not in jail? That's fucking weird, yo.
Yeah, it is.
Don't do that.
So I've been seeing things about Rape Day and people up in arms. Sorry, Brad, they look like you, and they're complaining. They're complaining. Now that this guy should be allowed to put it on any platform that he wants because it's under free speech, and Valve not putting it there is a violation of his speech and his way to express himself. And no, that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Even like you said, the developer of the game knows that that's not how this works, because he's quoted as saying, yeah, it's essentially that it's their prerogative if they change their policies, and they have absolutely every right to do so, because they're a private company. They can do what they want. They don't have to put my game up there. But I don't understand this notion that all art is protected under some sort of free speech, or that you should be able to do whatever you want with no consequences. I just, because if you were able to do whatever you want, like, this is how you get the Steam store. Like, literally anything is on there. And people and when you talk about free speech, yeah, we're talking about it in this context, but like, let's get real. People talk about it in an overall concept, right? Like in society, and how we should be able to do whatever, and you dirty libertarians are like, oh well, no government, no rules, whatever, like, no, that's not how you live in a society, man. And that's not how you, I don't understand it. Can you guys explain it to me?
Yeah,
like,
it comes from a
process.
It comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of what free speech in America is. People, whenever someone makes a misguided claim about, oh, it's free speech, like, I want to take a copy of the Constitution and just fucking sling it at him and hit him in the face with it. If the U.S. government was like, hey, we're not going to let you publish this Rape Day game, that would be a violation of free speech. A private business owner, and in this case, Valve is a private company, can do whatever the fuck they can, publish whatever the fuck they want. On it's so, like, in the US, like, no one makes adults only games, and GameStop, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, every retailer in the US has a established policy that if an adult only game does come along, they're not going to sell it in their stores. Let's say someone decides to make an adult only game and try to sell it to GameStop, Target, Walmart, Best Buy, whatever, and they don't carry the game. They're not censoring that guy. They're choosing to exercise the right not to carry the game in their store because they don't feel like that aligns with the company's values or what their mission is or what they're trying to do. It's not censorship. That's not the same thing. There's nothing stopping this guy from publishing this game himself. And that apparently is what he's going to do. So if you really want to fucking rape women during a zombie apocalypse, if you're a fucking sicko that thinks that's a cool idea, then I'm sure you'll find a way to get Rape Day into your dumb hands.
What's the purpose of this game?
To be a provocateur. I guarantee you that's why this game exists.
Someone needs to check this nigga's fucking laptop.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was a normal dude. Like I like I said, to me, I'm not as like bent about the game existing, because to me this is no different than someone who makes a controversial, painting. You know what I mean? Like, it's doing it just for the lulz, basically. Like, doing it just to fucking get the reaction from people. Now, I mean, I can't imagine putting the hours that it takes to fucking develop and code a game just to get the reaction from people. But I would not be surprised if that's why this guy was making this game. So I'm not as concerned about that, honestly.
I am concerned that it gets close to being released on Steam as it has been. And look, I'm not for government overreach, but like the industry needs to make sure that it keeps its house in order, man, because it's gonna get to that point, man. You already have countries interfering because of the whole loot box thing, which me myself personally, I feel as though it is not that big of an issue if you have a little bit of self-control. I understand that people have like addiction and stuff like that, but stuff like this just rubs me the wrong way, man. Like, this shouldn't be I shouldn't have to read about it. My wife shouldn't have to read about it. She shouldn't have to know about a game called Rape Day.
What you fear is already happening in the UK. Like the UK is now looking at Steam because they're like, how the fuck were you going to let this game appear on your store?
Yeah, and that's not cool, man. That's not cool. Like that's how you get, the ghost of Jack Thompson's career to come, skulking back. You know what I mean? Like
it's how you get government regulation. The other thing that people that tend to bandy about free speech incorrectly also hate.
Right. I just I don't know, man. I just saw a game called Rape Day, and I don't care what kind of game. It's a visual novel apparently. And
I don't give a fuck what it is.
Yeah.
Now the one argument, and I think it's a poor argument, but the one argument that folks defending this make is how is it any worse than running around with a gun, gunning down people and all that and the hyper violence that you see in games.
All right. You know what? You're right. No more Call of Duty. How about that? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? That you don't want Call of Duty anymore? Like, fine. Take the games away where you shoot and kill people. Hey, it might help people. It might help developers and publishers develop and push out games that you have to kind of think about. New shit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's a stupid argument, yo. That's a dumb argument. I don't get it. Yeah, man. And I don't know if it's just me getting all in my feelings now, because he's over there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not feeling it, man. I'm not feeling it.
Well, and my argument would also be like there have been games that have been hyper violent that have received the backlash.
Yeah, what was that game? The dude just went on a murderous rampage and they pulled that shit.
I don't remember.
It was just literally.
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was literally him just murdering people. Right. Yeah, like a top-down twin stick shooter, and the entire purpose was to kill as many innocent people as possible. Like games aren't designed to just run around and kill innocent people. Like it's still violent, but it's like usually war games. It's two different warring factions.
Well, and look,
they're like
demons. In GTA, you can run around killing innocent people, but there's a penalty to doing so. There's a detrimental effect to doing that, and that's my argument as well. Is that we as a society accept war as something that's fine. Like we don't all like it. And we don't all agree with it happening at every instance, but we also do accept that sometimes that shit's got to happen to resolve the issues in the world. You know what I mean? Like when fucking Nazism came up, fucking Americans got to go over and kick some ass eventually. Like it took them a couple of years to figure that shit out, but eventually, we got to go take care of business. So that's why I don't think people are like, oh, shooting guns are this. Yeah, but as a society, we've decided that that's an acceptable part of what we need to make civilization work. Rape is not. No, they're not. It's not the same thing.
Never will be. That's a poor argument. And again, it's just the fact that he felt the need to even develop this game in the first place. Like
I said, I think that I really do feel like the thing with the game developer is the lesser part of the story. Because I wouldn't be surprised if he did this specifically to push the
see
of what Valve would allow.
And isn't that a shame, right? Like your faith in humanity is so shaken that you're not surprised that an individual would make, this game just because humans are shitty.
I mean, regardless of his reasoning for it, it's just like I'm not surprised that he developed a game just to see if he could get away with it on Steam. Like that sentence is a problem.
Right, like he had
it's a huge problem.
And he knew that human beings are so shitty, that human beings running companies are shitty. Just see if I can get it there. I mean, hey, why not? Don't ask, don't get.
So the last question that I wanted to ask, and I'm asking the question, but I already know the answer to it. Do you think that this incident is going to get Valve to take a second look at their policies on Steam?
No, they're not doing anything.
Yeah, I was about to say no. This is an isolated incident, just like white people killing a bunch of people. They'll look at it, they've resolved it, and then they won't give a fuck.
Yeah, they won't.
there you go.
They won't give a shit. They won't give a good goddamn.
Listen, if you're a fan of Steam, I feel you. I understand that thing can fucking go down in flames for all I care, and just fucking go to GOG and Epic and whoever else is going to be publishing your PC games. There's going to come a point where reputable people are not going to want to deal with Valve.
Yeah,
that will come to a head. It may take a long time, and it may take a lot more controversies like this, but there will come a point where major publishers are going to be like, you know what? You're taking 30% and there's a bunch of bullshit in your store. Nah, we ain't gonna do business with you.
I hate to say it, and if you said it, I can't remember if you said it last week. If you did, I apologize. But Valve has lived long enough to see itself become the villain.
I may have said that to look forward about something.
I remember you saying it. I just couldn't remember which show. But yeah,
I think it would look forward.
But yeah,
I was making Batman references left and right on Look Forward. the last time I co-hosted on there. So very much. I was basically to describe the Michael Cohen hearings. I was basically quoting the story of The Dark Knight because it lined up too perfectly. That's where we are in American politics now. But I digress. That's our show this week. We didn't do post office because I knew we were going to run long with the stuff that we were talking about. So we will be back with that next week. I didn't get a chance to do the Amazon read. So again, whenever you buy anything on Amazon, big or small, go to densepixels.com/Amazon and help support your favorite video game podcast. Of course, join our Facebook group, densepixels.com/fans. Lots of fun conversation happening there every day. Plus, that's where we post the Dense Pixels post office. If you want to ask us questions that we answer on the show, you got to be in the fan group. Make sure you follow us on social media at DensePixels. Subscribe to the show, youtube.com/DensePixels. And you can also follow us on Twitch. Terrence is Apparition410 and Carrie is Suppets Carrie. That is it for us this week, guys. Thank you very much once again for listening, and we will see you in the next.
See you.
Take it easy.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here, and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.